Grace and peace, my friends. This is yours truly, Pastor T, coming to you once again. We're back in week 5 of dealing with your purpose. That's right, we're dealing with purpose. And this week, we want to talk to you about your individual purpose. Purpose is individual. But before I get into that, I just want to ask you, my friends, while you're going through these lessons and we're walking through this whole journey together, we'd love to hear from you. I want you to post your questions on Facebook, post your comments. I'm not going to be able to get into every single detail during this series. And so if there's questions that you have and you would like for me to answer those questions, because I may not get to exactly what you want to know about. And so I need you, my friends, to make sure that you post and ask your questions. If you have anything that you need me to address, I would love for you to put it on Facebook so that we might be able, in order to get what the information that you're looking for out to you. We don't want to do this and not meet our purpose in doing this. And so there's going to be some things within this series that we may not touch on. And if we could be a little bit more specific for you, we want to do that. So I'm asking you, my friends, I want to hear from you. Let me know how this series is blessing you. If you're learning something, if you're excited about it, if you want to keep it going, I need to hear those things from you, all right? So listen, let's get into our lesson this week. This week, we're talking about your purpose is individual. Your purpose is individual, all right? This is not about anybody else. You are unique. I keep saying that because I had a problem for a long time of being different from a lot of people. And I realized even in my family, I'm different than my other sisters. I'm different than the rest of the family. Of course, get this, I'm the only preacher in my family. How different is that? And so here we are, at 42 years old, still embracing our difference. And so you got to understand that my purpose is very individual. It has nothing to do with anybody else. There's preachers around this world. There are people around this world doing some of the things that I'm doing. But it is individual and uniquely and tailor-made just to me. And so I want you to go with me into this just a little bit, all right? Purpose is individual. The individual nature of purpose is best seen in the various parts of the product. Each has its unique function and design and enables it to meet the manufacturer's reason for including it in the product. Let's just talk about this for a minute. When you look at, just say you got a CD player and an iPod, and you also have, if you want, how many of y'all remember the cassettes? Y'all remember the cassettes? I'm going way back for a second. You know, we don't even do cassettes anymore. All of them are somewhat of the same product, even made by the same manufacturer, but they all have a different function and purpose. What do I mean by that? The CD player cannot play cassettes. The cassette cannot play CDs. Now the iPod cannot play CDs or cassettes, but they all play music. They all play different things, but they all have a different purpose, all right, and uniqueness and design. And it was designed for the actual purpose of the people who are going to use them. Some people prefer CD players. Some people prefer cassette players. Some people prefer iPods or iPads or iPhones. But they all can produce the same result. You understand? So you got to understand that we all have specific purpose in mind. So let's talk about it. Their purpose are individual and separate, though they have similar and related purposes. What do I mean by that? I'm a preacher. You may be a preacher. I'm a leader. You may be a leader, but we have different purposes. All right. You got different people who have different. You got cars. You got a Toyota Avalon. You got a Lexus. You got a Mercedes. They all are cars, but they meet specific needs. In our last lesson, we were standing outside of a building that was being erected. You've got to understand that building was actually being erected for a certain class of people. They were townhouses. Everybody may not be able to afford to live there. So that's not for low-income housing. That was for more of a medium to upper-scale housing. So you've got to understand that your purpose doesn't make you any more or any less. It is just tailor-made specifically for a particular group or class of people. All right? So the same principle applies to men and women of God. God needs you because your purpose is unique. He designed you specifically to meet his requirements. No one, absolutely no one, has the same fingerprint or DNA. You've got to understand, I used to do fingerprinting for a particular company. And I found out in doing fingerprinting that nobody has the same fingerprint. everything in the middle of your finger, that is a specific DNA just to you. And so I want to say to you, my friends, when God created you, he created you with a specific DNA. He created you with a specific purpose. And so he designed you specifically to meet his requirements. No one has your fingerprint, your personality, or particular combination of natural skills and talents. Nobody. I know preachers who can preach and sing. I can't sing. I can hold a note, but I can't sing. And you got to understand, I'm not intimidated. I actually love singing preachers. I love preacher singers, whoever they are. I just love them. All right, because their skill set is going to reach a group of people that I may never reach. And what I have may reach people that they may never reach. So there's no reason to ever be intimidated or bothered or feel insecure or inferior to anyone, because your purpose is not their purpose. All right? They may look like you, but they aren't you, because there's a part of God only you can express. Nobody can talk like Pastor T. I told y'all before, I have a problem with people who try to be copies of other people. This is just who I am. Nothing more, nothing less. I believe that the more I work at things, the better I become, and I believe in bettering myself. But I believe, my friends, that part of your purpose is to make sure that you are unique and authentic in what your purpose is. All right? Remember this. In essence, there is something you came to this planet for or to do that the world needs in this generation. Your birth, remember this, is evidence of that. You would not be here if God did not have purpose for you. All right? The uniqueness of purpose is evident in the lives of two great leaders I want to talk to you about in the scriptures. Everybody say Apostle Paul and Peter. That's right. We'll talk about Paul and Peter just for a few minutes, and want to share with you the uniqueness in these two young men. Individual. They did a lot of things together, but their purpose was very, very individual. All right? So let's get into that. Both were given the task of reconciling man to their Creator and spreading the good news of the kingdom of God. They both were called to introduce people to the kingdom. That's what they were called to. But beyond that, their purposes were different. Peter, after the vision that led him to the house of Cornelius in Acts 10, related primarily to the church in Jerusalem. His purpose was to be a leader among the Jewish believers, convincing them that God was also incorporating Gentiles into the church by the gift of his Spirit. Acts 2 and 11. All right? Paul, on the other hand, was rarely in Jerusalem. He visited there, or his visits there were for the primary purpose of defending his ministry among the Gentiles to those same leaders that Paul or that Peter influenced. All right? So it goes on to say in Galatians 2, 7 and 8, they saw that I had been entrusted with the task of preaching the gospel to the Gentiles, just as Peter had been to the Jews. For God, who is at work in the ministry of Peter as an apostle to the Jews, was also in work in my ministry as an apostle to the Gentiles. One was called to the Jews, one was called to the Gentiles, but they were both called to introduce people to the kingdom. Do you understand the difference? As even though we are in the body, the Bible says that we are body fitly joined together, every joint supplying. That means we all have one purpose, but it's individual in what we do. My hands don't do what my feet do. My eyes don't do what my nose do. And my ears don't do what my mouth do. But they help each other work and get a purpose accomplished. Paul's purpose or reason for being born was to specifically go to the non-Jewish world and share the good news of reconciliation to God. The Apostle Peter was called to oversee the church in Jerusalem. Both shared in the spread of the gospel, but their purposes were separate and specific. They could not have changed places and remain true to God's purposes for their lives. That means you can't desire, or you should not desire to be somebody else. Because if you desire to be someone else, you will never fulfill your purpose. You got to be careful not to wish for what somebody else has. Just be content with what God has given you. It is necessary and it is needful for this generation. So I want to finish off with this. Remember this: no one can take your place or purpose. And for you, there is no substitute. Did you hear that? No one can take your place or purpose. And for you, there is no substitute. My friends, I want to encourage you that nobody could ever replace your purpose. Nobody could ever replace who you are. There's only going to be one of you. I don't care who comes after you. I don't care how many people do what you've done or you're doing. Just remember this: nobody can replace no one can take your place or your purpose. And for you, there is no substitute. I refuse to be a carbon copy of anybody. I intend to be individual, unique, and powerful in my own right. So my friends, God intended that for you. He intended that for me. So let's continue to seek after our individual purpose. God bless you. I love you so much. I know time is going fast. But listen, we'll be right back here next week, and we're going to be talking about purpose is often multiple. That means there's going to be so many facets to your purpose, but they all come together. They're interdependent of one another, and you will find that when they all come together, it works together for your good and somebody else's. We'll see you right back here next week. God bless you, and we love you.